Well, today we've got an exciting video for you because we are going to take a little tour of the property and talk about how things are changing. So guys, welcome back to Peaks Peak. We're sharing our outdoor adventures on 38 acres in eastern Kentucky. And today, I've got an exciting video for you, especially if you're a follower of our main channel and you've also subscribed over here at the Outdoors channel. I'm gonna give you guys kind of an early look at some big plans that we've got for the whole family here on Peaks Peak. And the reason I'm talking about this on the Outdoors channel today is because it's going to affect our outdoor playground on Peaks Peak. And I want to talk about some ideas that we have and some of the changes we're going to make. But the video announcing this on the main channel is not going to come out for another week or so. This is kind of a thank you to those of you who follow us on both channels. Got me a pretty nice little fire going here in the burn barrel because it all of a sudden got cold on me. I mean, 2 days ago I was working out here in a t-shirt and today it's kind of spitting ice and snow. I have been working up here on the hill and doing some clearing and cleaning because me and Jana and Caden are gonna build us a tiny house up here on the hill. Now I've hinted on the other channel that we may build us a house up here, but we didn't really decide this until just a couple of weeks ago. The reason we're making some changes and we're gonna move out of our house down at the bottom of the hill is because, you know, all of my kids want to live here on the farm, and the two oldest, their families are both expecting babies. So I have 2 grandbabies on the way. And my daughter and my son-in-law live in our apartment above the garage, but it's really small. There's no extra bedrooms or anything. It's just kind of one small open room apartment. And they're not gonna wanna stay there with a child. And man, housing is so expensive. So we've been looking for ways to kind of help them, you know, get a good start in life. And we're in good shape on our property and we want to live up here on top of the hill anyway. The idea was triggered by those shed to house builds and we thought we might do a shed to house build. But what we've decided is we'll just build us a tiny house that we can add on to later as we're able and can afford to do it. But we'll go ahead and get us a living quarters built up here and we'll move up here so that they can move into the house down there and everybody gets to stay on the farm. It's kind of always been my dream is to have property that I can share with my kids and they can start their families. And you know, if their life circumstances change and they need to move away or they want to move away, that's fine. You know, they've got to do what works for them and their family. But right now, they all want to be here. And I'm all for that because I want to be near my grandbabies and my kids. So that's exciting. But how does that affect our outdoor adventures? Because I like to hunt and I like to fish and I like to camp. And that's part of why we have this property. And so I have been hesitant to take up any of the space up here to build a house. But I think we've come up with a way to do that so that it will have minimal effect on our hunting and trapping and fishing. So what I've done is I brought the bighorn up here and we're going to kind of drive around and take a little tour of the property. I'll show you where we want to build our house and then I will show you kind of the main hunting areas and all of that and where the camping area is and how building a house shouldn't have too much effect on that. So let's go drive around and take a look. We're going to start here right off the driveway. Kill the music there so you'll be able to see what's going on, but so you'll be able to hear what's going on. So when we come up the driveway, you make that turn and we've got the wood yard right off to the side here. And that's where I've spent a lot of my time on camera up here. But if you go straight on this trail here, this is where we want the driveway to bring us to. I'll show you right where we want to put our house. So, I've been doing some clearing up here, and these will be the videos that come out on the main channel in a couple of weeks. But in this area right over here, towards the front edge of the property, kind of adjacent to the wood yard, is where we want to build our house. So straight through those woods over there is where the wood yard is, probably 100 yards that direction. Prior to now, when I came up here and cleared off this area, this has been kind of one of the really thick places on the property, and we haven't really used it for much other than setting a trap out here on the point. And Cameron, I think, had a deer blind there for a while, and he killed his first doe out of a blind right out there. Now, there is this really nice poplar tree right here that I've climbed with a climber and deer hunted, kind of overlooking this hillside here. But we want to put the house right here. And the main reason for that is because we want to keep it in one general area. I'm always up here working in the wood yard anyway, so this kind of puts the footprint closer to the front of the property where it shouldn't affect too much of the rest of the wildlife that's going to be traveling all back in there towards the pond and the cabin and all the things that we do back that way. We have 38 acres, but part of our 38 acres is down at the flat, down over the hill. And I would say that's probably about 4 acres down there, give or take. And that's where the houses and barns and garage and Cameron and Amber's place sit. Then we also technically own a few acres on the other side of the AA highway, which was part of this farm before that AA highway was ever built. They cut right through the middle of the property, and they paid them to separate the 4 or 5 acres or whatever's over there. And it's kind of inaccessible, surrounded by everyone else's property. That kind of is what it is. That leaves us with probably about 30 acres up here on top of the hill that we'll get to use for hunting and camping and fishing and all of that. The one downside for hunting and trapping purposes is we do out here on this point, which is about 100 yards from where we're going to build the house, we always set up our big trap. We've trapped bobcats, raccoons, possums, all of that up here. We do see deer traffic through here because there's a lot of big oak trees with acorns. So it will affect being able to use this particular portion of property for hunting. That's kind of just part of it. It's a sacrifice I guess we're going to have to make. I'm going to hop back in the side-by-side and take you and show you some of the rest of the property that we still have that we'll be able to use for our hunting and all of that. The highway, you can't see it from here, you can hear the noise, but the highway is probably 200 yards down the hill that way. And so there's a rock cutout that kind of goes through the middle of our property. There are portions of our property that if you were to walk past the highway fence, it drops way down off a cliff. So when you're driving down the highway, you see big rock walls that extend up in the air 60, 70, 80 feet. Well, one of those is our property. You could be driving right through the middle of it. It comes down to ground level at the bottom of this hill, and that's where a lot of the wildlife comes in. I wanted to stay away from that area because with that rock wall, there's only so many ways that animals can enter this property and travel through it. So that's one of the areas that I'm kind of trying to protect. We will be up here kind of overlooking it, but I think it will have minimal effect because they can travel through there without seeing us and without being seen by us. We'll just continue on the old trail here because it takes us by where I said I was going to build the house kind of over in here to the side, but our garage will kind of extend over to about right here. So that will kind of cut off this trail here. And we're going to have a dozer come in and do some work, but I want to leave as many trees as we can because I more or less want a house in the woods. So now we're out here on the point and we're getting ready to go down what we call the Rocky Hill because, well, it's a rocky hill. see by the briars all around us that we have lots of rabbits, and we even have, I've seen grouse on our property. And so we've got a lot of thick property here. So coyotes and bobcats and all those animals, they all run around through here. We did some trapping early this year and when the trapping season was in, and we took out some, but not a lot, mostly possums and stuff like that. Yeah, I'm getting ready to come down into our, we call it our motocross track. It's not much of a motocross track if you were a real motocross rider, but it's good for us. And our motocross track also used to double as our food plot, so we would plant some things down here. We've even planted corn down here before. But our motocross track, I would call kind of the center of our property. So this kind of open field area here is kind of our central location, but the house where we're going to build the house is, I would say, a good 200 yards or more back that direction. Maybe even close to 1,000 feet. So you will not be able to see the house from this location. Now you might be able to make out the deer blind when the leaves are off. The thickest portion of our property, where I was talking about all the animals coming in from across the highway and traveling, they come through these woods. We've got some trails down through here, and our trail camera and some of our foothold traps and things that we've set before are about 150 yards that way down in that trail. And then if you go up this way, about 40 yards, 50 yards deep into the woods that way is the highway fence. And if you cross the highway fence there, that's where you'll see the drop off onto the highway. In fact, we might just walk over there and take a look. And if you really want to see where the wildlife is traveling, it's right here on this side of the fence. So the house will be, it's a good 1,500 feet from here. So I don't think it will affect the movement of animals through this area here. And across there, up on top, is my other 4 or 5 acres. So I think the only way I ever get to use that land over there is if I buy the 200 surrounding acres that are blocking it in. And it's interesting to get out on your property and walk around like this, and because really there's kind of a perimeter area here along the highway fence that's probably, I don't know, 50 foot wide or so, that really we don't do anything with. You know, the wildlife use it for movement and all of that, but yeah, we just kind of let it be. And I don't know, it's kind of neat to get off the main trail and check some of those things out a little closer.
Now, as we kind of head on away from the motocross track, we've got trails kind of that run alongside the fence up through here. They stay off away from it a little ways, but this is where you start to head back towards the pond and the camping area, and then really kind of the more main hunting area that we'll be using if we live in a house over there. All right, so this part of the trail, we are coming up on There's the pond and the cabin over there through that way, and then the shooting range is up ahead up here.
And this is kind of the back edge of our property back in here. And this is up above the pond. So the pond's a couple hundred yards down through the woods over there. And we have seen lots of turkeys and deer through here. So I think that this area should remain unaffected because they're traveling alongside the fence and coming up this way, as well as coming from the other directions, you know, the neighbor's farm and up through the woods in all that direction over there. So I feel like us moving up into the property a little more, while it will have some effect on the wildlife and our hunting abilities, I don't think it will have a major impact on what we're doing, but I think it will have a major impact on our family and being able to stay together. And that's what we really want. So I kind of just wanted to get out, you know, and show you guys the property. For those of you who are new to the channel, maybe haven't been around the whole property and seen everything, this kind of taking you around the loop so you can see the outside edges and the trails and what we're working with. This piece of property is not the greatest piece of hunting property because of the rock cutout from the highway really cuts down the traffic that's moving through here. I have never been a trophy hunter. I'll take some doe for meat and you know, squirrel hunt a little bit, rabbit hunt a little bit, and fish. And I can do all of those things on this property. Probably never going to kill a monster buck here, but you can still get out and have a good time and enjoy God's creation. And so that's what we're doing here.
We'll go down here to the corner and take you guys past the pond and the cabin now. Let's just stop here on the pond dam and check things out, see how we're looking.
So here we are at the pond and the cabin, and honestly the most beautiful view is where we built the cabin. If a person was trying to pick the most beautiful spot to build a house, it would be right up in those woods, probably overlooking this pond. But we built our camp cabin there, and that's something I don't want to spoil. I want the grandkids to be able to use the camp cabin and fish and have it be something separate from the house, you know, kind of a little getaway. So that's why we decided to build the house on towards the front of the property, just so we can kind of keep all of this separated and enjoy it for what it is, a little outdoors getaway. The pond is looking fantastic. We have been feeding regularly, so the catfish are growing like crazy. This is going to be a good summer for fish fries. I can see it coming. And hopefully, with the feeding that we're doing, the bass are growing as well, but we'll see. We'll at least have a good time catching those catfish. Well guys, man, I hope you enjoyed getting the tour of Peaks Peak, kind of getting the story of what's going on in our lives. We're having a great time and we enjoy sharing it with all of you. So thank you for watching our videos. Till next time, get outside and enjoy God's creation because it's beautiful out here. Y'all have a good day.